Hello everyone, this is Greyshot17, and today I'm bringing you a special video. This is a video I've been planning to make for quite some time, but oh boy, I found some really interesting, fascinating stuff. And no, it's not just based on the Black Prince, it's on more than that. But let's start with it. For those who don't know, the Black Prince is a British vehicle that is in Company of Heroes 3. This was highlighted in the pre-alpha. It's also been in a couple trailers and other things, and people have pointed out how historically inaccurate this vehicle is, how it ruins Company of Heroes, because never before has there been a vehicle or an instance where Company of Heroes has used a unit, not just a unit that has not been in combat in a certain area, but a unit just like this in an improper fashion. But oh boy, if you watch this whole video and you still believe that, I want to know. I'm very curious to see why. Leave your comment down below, and if you like the video, like, subscribe. So let's get to the Black Prince. For those who don't know, British doctrine in World War II, every country, every commander had their own idea of how to use armor, some better than others, but the British in general, and this is, I've been through a few sources, I'll try to list them down below, but essentially potential history, love is content, said it best where the British were essentially had two models of tanks, one to achieve breakthrough with armor and the other to exploit a breakthrough with speed. So for example, just using units, a Cromwell would be the unit with speed, or a Comet, whereas the Churchill would be something in the line of a unit that can take the hits, like a Matilda or as well. You know, units with so much armor, the enemy has trouble penetrating until you get, you know, an 88 gun on it, and then things go very bad very quickly. But point is, the Black Prince was the final evolution of the Churchill. The Churchill that we've seen in, like, Company of Heroes 2, that's essentially the previous version. That is the version with all the different variants, like a flamethrower. The Black Prince was the final version that, you know, kind of missed World War II a little bit. Developed as early as 43, produced, and they weren't shipped to the front until the last month of the war. So by the time May showed up, yeah, the war was kind of done in 45. So yeah, they didn't really fight anyone. They didn't really do anything. Also, the idea of a Comet tank, which is a tank that's just all-purpose, was kind of becoming more in favor. And again, you can kind of see that with a lot of nations after that, just going with your standard battle tank. Now, after saying all that, I can 100% say, well, Greyshot, it never fought in that theater. It was, sure, there were 6 prototypes, but there's only 6. There can't be another Company of Heroes unit that was, you know, used in campaign or multiplayer that is just so altered from its original state. Well, my dear viewer, that's where we get to the fun of things, because just for reference, I decided to look at a bunch of Company of Heroes units, and yeah, here's what I got. Now, for example, let's get to a baseline one, right? Okay, let's get to something that's generally most people know about. Let's go to the Jadgtiger. The Jadgtiger was a tank developed in deployed mid-44, and was essentially a big, heavy tank designed as a tank destroyer, right? Could take a lot of hits, had terrible engine, but overall, in a good environment, yes, it could smash and destroy a lot of allied vehicles if it didn't break down trying to get to that spot. 80 were made, and they were in combat, so, but you could say, well, Greyshot, they're limited in number. Well, that makes sense. In Company of Heroes 2, they're a special call-in, right? So I'm using that as a baseline, and if you're wondering why, it's because it just gets worse from here. So let's take something else, a Sturmtiger, right? The Sturmtiger was essentially an assault gun with a Tiger chassis, but essentially it fired a high explosive shot that was designed to break bunkers, right? And it was deployed in 1944. Wait a second, Greyshot. The Germans were on the defensive then. You would be right, good sir. So yeah, the Germans decided to build 18 of these suckers, or roughly in that ballpark. So the only time it really did well from records was, Warsaw, where you had the Warsaw Uprising, and that whole situation take place where the Red Army just watched over the river because they couldn't give two shits. Yeah, that's a great moment in history. But after that, there's like spotty history at best of it actually doing really anything. Yeah, there's an account that it may have destroyed a Sherman, but also artillery could have done the same thing, and they were so inaccurate they couldn't hit a bridge. Let me be very clear. They tried to use them to destroy a bridge, and they couldn't do it. Sure. So that would be very limited combat history in my experience, because that's about it. Most of them were found abandoned. Now, as a bonus for that unit, you could say, well, Greyshot, they're a call-in, so it's a special unit. Where I say, you would be right, except, well, no. At first, the Sturmtiger was in the base OKW army. That's right. If you played the OKW when it first launched, the Sturmtiger was in the final Panzer headquarters. The Panzer IV was in the Elite Armor Doctrine, where you got, I believe, 2 of them at the final call-in. Now, for those who don't know, they kind of revamped a lot of commanders, and any commander that came out with multiple units, they decided to instead condense into a single unit, so that way you have to spend so much fuel and manpower for 2 instead of just buying 1 when you needed it, which to me is a better system. If you're in the base, faction army, you're a unit that was utilized by that army. The Americans, they probably used a Sherman. I'm gonna go on a limb and say the Germans did not use Sturmtigers as much as the common Code 2 player. Just pointing that out there. And you can say, Greyshot, it's multiplayer. You're not giving us examples of single player. You have to do better than that. Well, good sir, I have some single player examples for you. And one, I am shocked that I didn't see a single I went through comments, a single person pointed out being like, huh, that's weird. I mean, to be fair, in the gameplay demo, there was apparently a flying tank, so I could see why that may have distracted people, but the Wirblewind. And some person's gonna say, well, the Germans had that. Yes. But the pre-alpha, the one that was originally shown for Company of Heroes 3, the Wirblewind, the unit that's in the base faction for the Wehrmacht defending, Italy, was deployed in August 44. You invade that airfield a year before August 43, or roughly that time span, right, for the Battle of Italy proper. Yeah, only about 100 of those were made for that unit, and again, look, if it's in the faction, I don't care. I prefer balance. I just find it funny because people immediately are harping on the Black Prince, and then you have the Wirblewind, and it's there a year early, and in a theater that it was not used in. Again, the idea was the Germans needed more AA, so they built these things with the extra chassis they had to help shoot down planes. And then what ended up happening was when the planes spotted these things, they're like, oh, hey, guys, we should probably hit that thing. It's probably a good target. And the Wirblewind and eventually the Ostwind would be the target. Which, by the way, let's get to the Ostwind. The Ostwind, which was produced and deployed in December 44 into 45. Yeah, only about 44 of those suckers actually made it. And again, base army for the Wehrmacht in Code 2. With those numbers, I would expect to be a special call-in, but no, that's how many there were actually deployed. In all honesty, again, multiplayer and stuff like that, I don't mind. I just find it hilarious. Now let's continue on to which I find to be the best example of this, and an example of a unit having no combat experience in the given area and yet fighting there. So again, I think the Wirblewind you could attest for being in Italy for that time, but the Stugg.
Kill him!
Greyshot, the Germans made thousands of Stuggs. They were used so much by the German army. You're telling me that the Germans didn't ship any Stuggs to North Africa? Well, here's the thing, buddy. Even though in the alpha, there is a Stugg there. Fun fact, they had a grand total of 0 Stuggs, which puts their combat history in that campaign to 0. Most of them were sent to the bottom of the Med because of Allied planes and, anti-merchant raiding. Again, those going on against the Italian merchant fleet coming on in to supply Tunisia. So we're in Tunisia now. And once again, we are at a grand total of 3 Stuggs that actually managed to survive the trek to North Africa in the Tunisian campaign. That's in 43, everyone. So, yeah, that tank should not be there, but is. And again, I find it absolutely delicious, the fact it is there. But it is Not the most, actually, and even though you're like, well, Greyshot, what it sounds like to me is Co 2 and Co 3 are both just, you know, they're altering history. They're just messing with units. Co 1 never did this. Co 1 has a great track record and never put any of this information, any of these units, like you're saying, in there like that. They wouldn't do that. Hello everyone, before y'all go, let's give a special shout out to Patreon supporters: Aphyria, Joey G240, Little Chuche, Milam, tonybee, Pyroshark, XSomeToolx, and Epic Pleb. Thank you all for your incredible support and helping me grow my channel and allowing me to keep doing what I do. So thank you. This has been Greyshot, his amazing patrons, and I'll see you all next time.